Let's take a step back. You grew up in Ohio, in Toledo. Your family was always on the move. You've just released your book about my life on the road. Do you think travel is in your blood?
I was growing up in a house trailer until I was about 10 because my father was a gypsy. And I mean, we were in the same place in the summer because he had a little summer resort, but then the rest of the year we were traveling. So it's true that what we see in our childhoods feels familiar and normal.
You wrote in your last book, in your college years in the 50s, that you confused growing up with settling down, getting a husband, getting a home. How long did that feeling last?
I think there was an alternative. Nobody told me there was an alternative. Right?
So
Unless you were kind of crazy and became a spinster or something, you know. But I mean, I just didn't think I had any other choice. So I kept saying, I assumed that I was going to do that, just not right now. So I just kept putting it off.
You started off as a freelance writer. I believe your first assignment was for Esquire.
I had done other things before that, but that was my first serious article.
And you wrote about having to choose between marriage and a career.
Well, I wrote about the contraceptive pill. That was my first big serious article because it had just then been developed.
You co-founded Ms. Magazine in the 70s. What was the impetus behind launching that?
It had become clear to me that women's magazines could sneak in an article or two, but basically you had to provide complimentary copy for the ads. So you had to have lots and lots of fashion, lots and lots of beauty, lots and lots of, and also you couldn't be honest about it either. You couldn't talk about sweatshops or, you know, which cosmetics were really bad for your skin. So we just wanted to have a women's magazine that we read and that could be factual in its articles and could talk about the real changes that were coming with the women's movement.
You went undercover as a Playboy bunny. You wrote that wonderful piece, A Bunny's Tale. It was quite controversial at the time, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was controversial. I mean, they did sue me, the Playboy Club did sue me, because they were trying to present it as glamorous and well paid and so on, and of course it was neither. I mean, you know, in the end I didn't get sued. I mean, it's complicated, but it was, but I think that probably what annoyed Hugh Hefner the most was that it was exposed as not glamorous.
It's funny how the tide has turned. There are women today who say that Playboy is actually quite empowering for them, that they've used their sexuality for their own gains. What do you say about that?
I hope they're getting a hell of a lot of money. Because the philosophy of Playboy is a woman must never win. That's Hefner's philosophy. Not in fiction, not in articles. A woman must never win. And when the movement was, you know, first getting underway, he wrote a memo saying, these women are our natural enemies. We have to get them, and so on. And some wonderful woman in Esquire leaked the memo.
Oh, how fabulous. The internet's changed the way young people view sex, hasn't it?
They're looking at pornography, not erotica, so they are made to believe that sexuality is about domination, humiliation, pain, inequality, and that's tragic.
One of the issues that really let you find your activist voice was abortion.
There is still profound opposition, so it is not understood to be a human right. The reproductive freedom, the ability to make decisions over your own body is a fundamental human right.
And you yourself actually had one at 22 in the UK when it was still illegal. You dedicated your latest book to the man who gave you that abortion many years ago. And how would life have been different had that abortion not happened?
If I had been forced at that point to give birth to someone else, I don't know that I could have given birth to myself. So, you know, I wanted to thank him.
That's a beautiful phrase. I wouldn't have given birth to myself.
No, and I think, you know, we have a right to do that. We are not only wombs, we are brains and hearts and unique people as well.
You turned 82 this year. Amazing. Congratulations. You've never been shy about your age.
Well, actually, when I was in my late 30s, I did lie my age down 2 years because my sister had changed her age, and I was going out with a man who'd previously been married to a movie star, and he said, no woman tells her age. It's crazy to tell your real age. So there was about a year when I changed my age by 2 years, and I felt terrible. Yeah. I felt like such...
disingenuous.
No, I mean, it's like that one thing was just a... So when I turned 40, I became publicly 40 and said... And some reporter kindly said, you don't look 40. And I said, but you know, this is what 40 looks like. We've been lying so long, who would know? And that caught on. So I began to say it every decade.
You seem to have blossomed with age. So many women seem to struggle with age.
Well, it's meant different things to me. When I turned 50, it was hard because it was like the end of this central period of life in which the feminine role, even if you're rebelling against it, whether you're obeying or rebelling, is a big force in your life. And after 50, it's sort of gone. And so, but by the time I was 60, I discovered this was great. This is like freedom. It was fantastic.
When you turned 60, you said you finally felt free of the demands of gender. In fact, you've just said that you felt liberated. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know about your life, but I think for a lot of women when we were little girls, when we were 8 or 9 or 10, we were our true selves, you know, and we were climbing trees and saying, I know what I want, I know what I think. It's why so many women novelists use a 9 or 10-year-old little girl as a narrator. It's your true self. Then around 11 and 12 or 13, the feminine prison comes down on you, and it's profound. And it really doesn't let up until your reproductive child-rearing years, whether or not you've had children, are over. And then, after 50, Carolyn Heilbrunn wrote a book called Writing a Woman's Life, which was based on Virginia Woolf. And she says that women after 50 become, in as much as possible, their true selves. And so you go back to being the person you were at 8 or 9 or 10. Only now you're grown up, you have your own apartment, hopefully you have a little money. Yeah. You can be who you are, so it's free, it's exciting.
When you grow up, Western women were under the pressure to stay home, be happy housewives, and so on. What do you think are the pressures on Western women today?
Well, unfortunately, the pressure to do it all. You know, that because society essentially says, first, no, you can't be an editor, a lawyer, an engineer, a carpenter, whatever it is you want to be. And then they say, okay, but just providing you keep on doing everything you did before, just so you don't disturb society. Right? So then you end up with 2 jobs. And that is sort of where we are, although there's been a lot of advance in some countries with men raising children and being real parents, and understanding that kids are not born at 6, you know, they're born when they're born, so there should be systems of childcare, not just schools later on.
I mean that's the big thing, isn't it? That women are often left holding 2 jobs, one paid and one unpaid.
Yes. Yeah, well, we have to just stop doing it.
Which part?
Well, to the extent that it's possible to stop doing it. I mean, you know, if the man we live with doesn't do the laundry doesn't get done.
Do you find it frustrating that women still have to fight so hard?
Of course, but it would, it was ridiculously naive of us in the beginning to think, oh, well, this is so unjust. Surely if we just explain it to people.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because the billions of dollars were being made off unequal pay. And even now, the much of and sometimes most of productive work in a country is not even counted because it's caregiving, it's raising children, taking care of invalids. We could attribute a value to that at replacement level and make it part of the economy. We haven't done that yet either.
America right now has the best opportunity of electing its first female president. Did you ever think that you'd see that in your lifetime?
I was not at all sure it would happen in my lifetime. And it was clear to me that 2008 was too soon, but when Hillary Clinton first ran. But it didn't matter because she and Obama were the same on the issues, and he was an important first. Yeah. Now I think she can win, and also I think she must win.
Why?
Because it seems that the alternative...
I'm actually going to ask you about that.
I was about to call him a Neanderthal, but Neanderthals are really quite nice people, so...
Oh, it's unbelievable. What's the chance, do you think, of him being president, and what's it going to mean to women?
Well, I do not believe he can be elected. Our nominating process is kind of peculiar, and he's behind in all the polls, hugely with women, hugely with with Mexican Americans, with African Americans. I don't think he can win. I think the country could survive, but it would be difficult. It would be very difficult to survive with him as president.
What do you do when you're not working?
Well, I can't tell the difference between work and life. If you love your work, it's not separate from your life. And, it's just, it's ideas, it's interests, it's the friends you're working with, it's exhilarating, it's fun, it's just, I mean, the great luxury for me, and I hope that more people can have this luxury, is I can't tell the difference between, there is no difference between work and life. And because I am sometimes recognizable as part of something I love, it's like instant friendship, so you can skip right past the first 2 or 3 lunches and, you kind of know each other.